Welcome to AIM. What is the reimbursement process? My name is Carly, and I'm from the Education and Training team at AIM Self Direction. This information session is being held to review AIM's policies and practices for AIM's reimbursement process in the Self Direction program. AIM's reimbursement policies and practices are not changing. However, this session is meant to give a more in depth education on the overall topic. During this session, please do not disclose private health information of the people receiving services in self direction. Person specific questions or case by case situations will be handled outside of the session. AIM emphasizes working with your self direction team, including but not limited to your self direction coordinator, your accounts payable specialist, or additional AIM support teams as needed for questions regarding reimbursements. The education and training team will follow up with the attendees to provide a recap of the session, resources, and additional support as needed. Please note that we will not be reviewing how to enter reimbursements. If you did want to learn more about how to enter a reimbursement, AIM encourages you to attend a live eVero portal representative training as noted on the education calendar on our website. We will provide a link to this calendar in our follow up email. Let's get started. AIM will be reviewing the following topics during today's session: reimbursement overview, AIM reimbursement process, AIM reimbursement policy. AIM will be reviewing more in depth information about reimbursable services, including an overview of reimbursable services, overview of the pre approval process, and a review of resources and tools for teams to utilize. By definition, people self directing have as much control as possible over how they receive their supports and services. Self directed services offer the greatest amount of control in how, where, and by whom services are provided. A broad range of options are available through self direction. A person can choose to develop a plan that is customized in a way that best meets their interests and needs. In choosing customized supports and services, the person self directing or their representative accepts responsibility for co management of their supports and services, working with circle of supports within their respective role. By practice, the person who is self directing with budget authority must work within a personal resource account or PRA and develop a self direction budget. The person makes choices about the goods and services that they wish to receive and selects who is paid to provide them and how they are purchased. A person who maintains budget authority and works within the personal resource account may access needed goods or services through a budget line, such as individual directed goods and services or IDGS. A fiscal intermediary or FI works with the person to complete billing and payment for goods and services identified in the budget. All requested budget items must meet criteria set by New York State self direction to qualify for reimbursement. AIM as an FI has a responsibility to maintain state and federal home and community based service setting rules. The self directed person or their representative and the Circle of Support team may adapt the budget and services as wants and needs change while working within a co management model to maintain programmatic reimbursement standards and AIM policies and practices. AIM has outlined policies and practices for reimbursement requests in accordance with New York State's OPWDD self direction guidelines. Due to the nature of the program, items requested are required to meet criteria for payment to be issued. AIM's fiscal teams specialize in reviewing programmatic and payment criteria to move forward with processing reimbursement requests. Accounts payable specialists assigned to the self direction team reviews programmatic criteria, including but not limited to open or active budget categories are available. Clear supporting documentation justification is needed in the life plan staff action plans if applicable. Person centered habilitative needs are outlined and clearly connect with supporting justification. AP Specialist works with the AIMS reimbursable services team to review requested purchases to ensure smooth processing of items approved for payment. Accounts payable specialists assigned to the self direction team reviews reimbursement criteria, including but not limited to invoices submitted via AIMS eVero portal software platform, accounts payable specialists assigned to support self direction teams with individualized reimbursement needs. AP specialist works closely with self-direction team during the reimbursement process, providing invoice review, reject communications in accordance with AIM's support timeline to ensure smooth processing of items approved for payment. Circle of support and fiscal teams will adhere to AIM's reimbursement policies and timeline. Requests submitted in eVero portal will need to include an itemized invoice. In- Itemized invoices are required to meet reimbursement criteria and issue payment back to the self directing person or their representative. It is important to note that invoices for goods and services may have different details depending on the provider's billing style. AIM recommends working with providers for itemized invoices to obtain information needed during AIM's reimbursement review process, including the name of the self directing person, dates of service, frequency of service, description of the opportunity, cost of the opportunity, provider information, total balances due, and total balances paid, which is also referred to as proof of payment. This example invoice for IDGS community classes outlines the itemized reimbursement criteria being evaluated by the team AP specialist. The self directed person is clearly identified as the person receiving services, and the invoice has been submitted in the Vero portal, initiating the AIMS reimbursement review process and payment timeline. Requests submitted in the Vero portal will need to include proof of payment. Proof of payment is required to meet reimbursement criteria and issue payment back to the self directing person or their representative. Proof of payment for goods and services may have different details depending on the provider's billing style. Proof of payment examples may include an itemized invoice with balance due indicating $0, a bank statement withdrawal reflecting the invoice amount, or a confirmation email communicating proof of payment. The AP specialist will review both the itemized invoice and proof of payment as a part of the AIM reimbursement process review. Additional information may be requested as invoices cannot be paid until proof of payment is provided. Payment also cannot be issued until after the service has been rendered. For example, an IDGS membership invoice for multiple months will be processed and paid out on a month to month cycle. AIM recommends working with providers to ensure all aspects of the reimbursement are supported and routinely communicate with their AP specialist with specific questions on invoices or the reimbursement process. Reimbursements placed in review are either missing reimbursement criteria, programmatic criteria, or both. The reimbursement review process is designed to hold the invoice from payment processing until the requested information is received by AIM. Once the information is received, invoices will continue forward for payment processing in accordance with AIM's reimbursement policy. The goal for the review process is to provide outreach and education for external teams within the current check run to smoothly process reimbursement requests that are missing information, preventing long term delays in payment back to the self directed person or their representative. The AP specialist works in coordination with the self direction coordinator and circle of support teams in the following ways: identify invoices in eVero portal under review status, sending email communications to the Circle of Support team outlining the missing information being requested. AIM following up with weekly status checks. Work with Circle of Support to educate them on missing criteria. Assisting external teams in communicating with the reimbursable services team as needed. Updating corrected invoices, removing review status to process payment by the close of the current check run. Assist with the Circle of Support team's reimbursement or programmatic questions. Rep communication with the AP specialist when corrections have been applied to invoices in the Avera portal, ensuring smooth processing of payment in accordance with AIM's reimbursement policy. Reimbursements placed in reject remain missing reimbursement criteria, programmatic criteria, or both. The reimbursement reject process is designed to hold the invoice from payment processing until requested information is received by AIM. Once the information is received, invoices will continue forward for payment processing in accordance with AIM's reimbursement policy. The goal for the rejection process is to formally communicate to the self directing person or their representative the invoice is unable to move forward in the reimbursement process. Outreach and education for external teams will be provided within the current month's check run to smoothly process reimbursement requests that are missing information, preventing long term delays in payment back to the self directed person or their representative. The AP specialist works in coordination with the self direction coordinator and the circle support teams in the following ways: identify invoices in the Vera portal under reject status. Sending email communications to the Circle of Support team outlining the missing information being requested, following up with weekly status checks. Work with Circle of Support to educate them on missing information. Assisting external teams in communicating with reimbursable services team as needed. Updating corrected invoices, removing reject status to process payment by the close of the current check run month. Assist with the Circle of Support team's reimbursement or programmatic questions. Rep communications with Team AP specialist when corrections have been applied to invoices via the Vera portal, ensuring smooth processing of payment in accordance with AIM's reimbursement policy. Reimbursement corrections will be made directly in Evero by the self directing person or their representative. Evero does not directly communicate with AIM when invoices are edited for correction or in cases of no reply notification sent by Evero, and therefore an email communication must be sent either in response to previous AP specialist communications or in a new email directly to the AP specialist and the self direction coordinator. External teams should routinely check their email for the reason for rejection, which will include information on the invoice and status in the reimbursement process. If the AP team does not receive the corrected information within 30 days based off of AIM support timeline, the reimbursement will be moved to rejected locked. Typically, invoices are rejected locked due to missing criteria. Acceptable corrections to invoices in rejected locked should be communicated to your AP specialist for resubmission in Evero and reimbursement processing based off of AIM's reimbursement policy. For reimbursements that have been determined as ineligible, an email communication will be sent to the self directing person or their representative communicating why the opportunity was ineligible based on programmatic or reimbursement criteria in New York State OPWDD self direction guidance. Rejected locked invoices remain visible in Evero for record keeping and to prevent invoices from reflecting as payment pending in the budget. This is a visual representation of the reimbursement process from submission to payment, including AIM's review, rejected lock support timelines as reviewed in this session. In the first, second, and third blue bubble, an invoice is submitted, reviewed, and verified for payment in Evero, adhering to AIM's reimbursement processing timelines. If there are missing criteria, the invoice will move to the fourth orange bubble, status moving to review, which holds the invoice for payment processing. In the fifth bubble, the self directed person or their representative has actively corrected missing criteria and communicated this correction to the team AP specialist prior to the close of the check run. The AP specialist will remove the review status and return the invoice to AIM's reimbursement processing timelines for the self directing person or representative to receive payment. If the AP specialist does not receive the corrected information, the invoice will be formally rejected as indicated in the sixth orange bubble. Rejected invoices will receive 30 days of support to assist teams with resolving the rejected payment as indicated in the seventh orange bubble. If the self directed person or their representative has actively corrected missing criteria and communicated this correction to the team AP specialist prior to the close of the month, the AP specialist will remove the rejection status and return the invoice to AIM's reimbursement processing timelines for the self directed person or representative to receive payment. After 30 days of support and corrections have not been received, the invoice will be moved to rejected locked, as indicated by the eighth red bubble. The invoice will need to be resubmitted by the self directing person or their representative with the requested information, which starts the invoice at the beginning of the life cycle in the first blue bubble. AIM runs two reimbursement processing timelines for each month. Each timeline follows AIM's reimbursement process, reimbursement policies, and program standards. The first reimbursement process timeline establishes that any invoice or request with all necessary supporting documentation entered by the first of the month will be processed and paid by the 16th of the month or the next business day. The second reimbursement process timeline establishes that any invoice or request with all necessary supporting documentation entered by the 5th of the month will be processed and paid by the 31st or the last business day of the month. AIM holds a 60-day reimbursement window from the date of service. AIM encourages the self directing person, representative, and circle of support to access the reimbursable services team for pre approval questions and determinations on eligibility of opportunities. This optional service is to ensure requested opportunities are eligible for reimbursement in the self direction budget based off of the self direction guidance. This specialized team includes programmatic and fiscal administrative members who work in partnership with the Circle of Support for planning out of pocket expenses through the budget year. The reimbursable services team works with the Circle of Support to determine pre approval of the reimbursable items within the budget. Reimbursable Services reviews each opportunity on a case by case basis based on the self directed person's individualized and justified needs. This includes review of New York State OPWDD programmatic criteria, justification in the lights plan, justification with valued outcomes. Confirmation budget categories are open prior to the purchase of the opportunity, working in partnership with external vendors as needed or requested, and routine review of aimed reimbursement requests as eligible self direction services. The reimbursable services team routinely meets to review reimbursement requests submitted for pre approval. Pre approval is a process used by the reimbursable services team to review opportunities for the self directed person or representative. Teams can receive more detailed information on eligible invoices within their budget to better navigate out of pocket expenses. Reimbursable services team will provide email communications with an approval or determination of ineligibility of an opportunity. All requests should be submitted to pre-approval at aimservicesinc.org, including the self-direction coordinator and the AP specialist on the email. This is a visual representation of the pre-approval process from submission to determination of eligibility. In box 1, a new opportunity is submitted to the self-direction reimbursable services team for pre-approval. In box 2, the reimbursable services team reviews the opportunity with all supporting documentation in accordance with OPWDD's self direction guidance. In box 3, the opportunity is either approved or ineligible. In box 4, the opportunity has been formally communicated by the reimbursable services team as approved. Approved opportunities are routinely reviewed. AIM will reach out if this no longer qualifies as a self direction reimbursable service per the OPWDD self direction guidance. As the guidance is updated, AIM completes routine reviews to maintain compliance with all pre approved self directed expenses. In Box 5, the opportunity has been formally communicated by the reimbursable services team as ineligible. An opportunity determined as ineligible may be due to missing information upon submission. Opportunities may also be determined as ineligible due to programmatic standards per the OPWDD self direction guidance. This is a visual representation of the pre approval re review process from second submission to determination of eligibility. In Box 1, the self directing person or representative and Circle of Support team has received a determination outlining why the opportunity was ineligible, based off of programmatic or reimbursement criteria in the New York State OPWDD self direction guidance. In Box 2, the Circle of Support team resubmits the opportunity with new, updated supporting information to the reimbursable services team, including the accounts payable specialist and self direction coordinator. In Box 3, the reimbursable services team re reviews the opportunity and all supporting documentation. Pre approval will not move forward with the second review process unless new or updated information is provided. In Box 4, the opportunity is either approved or ineligible. In Box 5, the opportunity has been formally communicated by the reimbursable services team as approved. Approved opportunities are routinely reviewed. AIM will reach out if this no longer qualifies as a self direction reimbursable service per the OPWDD self direction guidance. As the guidance is updated, AIM completes routine reviews to maintain compliance with all pre approved self directed expenses. In Box 6, the opportunity has been formally communicated by the reimbursable services team as ineligible. An opportunity determined as ineligible may be due to missing information upon submission. Opportunities may also be determined as ineligible due to programmatic standards per the OPWDD self direction guidance. AIM encourages Circle of Supports to set up direct or recurring payments rather than incur upfront costs and then seek reimbursement. For people with limited cash on hand, these services can be helpful in supporting the self directed person to live life more independently. This practice also ensures timely payments and helps AIM maintain program standards. Recurring payments. If desired, AIM can set up recurring payments which will assist with populating invoice into automatic monthly invoices for payment. Payment cannot be issued until after the service has been rendered. Invoices for multiple months will be processed and paid out on a month to month cycle. Example: a yearly IDGS membership will be processed and paid out on a monthly cycle with the total cost for the invoice divided by 12. The accounts payable specialist will set up recurring payments in Evero to automatically populate and initiate AIM's reimbursement processing timeline. Direct pay. AIM offers a direct payment option with all cleared vendors. This allows AIM to directly pay the provider and for the person receiving support to avoid out of pocket expenses. Direct payment is available to all vendors, but is based on vendor participation. Please note that additional paperwork may be required when opting into direct pay. For questions regarding approved vendors or to set up direct payment, please reach out to your accounts payable specialist and your self direction coordinator for further guidance. The AIM difference. Circle of supports are assigned AIM self direction administrative teams. AIM self direction administrative teams specialize in their roles and responsibilities to wrap around the self directed person throughout the program. These team members include the self direction coordinator as the point person for self directing person and their representative to assist with self direction needs such as programmatic questions, participation in planning meetings, review of supporting documentation, and circle of support communication. The accounts payable specialist works in partnership with the Circle of Support and AIM self direction admin team to ensure smooth processing of expenses available within the budget by maintaining a review of programmatic and reimbursement criteria. The staff supports coordinator acts as a liaison between staff and the Circle of Support, assisting with AIM policies and practices. staff employment status changes, staff evaluations, and benefits as applicable. AIM has additional supports and services available to staff and Circle of Support teams, including the following: education and training team, reimbursable services team. AIM offers robust training opportunities and methods for self hired staff and Circle of Support teams to be successful and confident in their partnership and roles and responsibilities. The education and training team has created different learning pathways for a combination approach, including the following: AIM Live Weekly Training. AIM's training and education team hosts live interactive sessions on Zoom available for Circle of Supports and staff. During these sessions, attendees will learn how to use the Evera platform for their role. However, anyone can register for training on AIM's self direction website on the education calendar. For Circle of Supports, training is held on Thursdays. Circle of Supports are invited and encouraged to attend training. Attendees of weekly training receive a follow up email to include direct access to AIM tools and resources, as well as education and training team contact for more individualized support if needed. AIM step by step Evero instructions. AIM has developed how to documents for the Evero portal platform with screen by screen instructions for each function of the software. Teams can access these documents by emailing their AP specialist or visiting AIM's self direction website. AIM How To YouTube videos. AIM has developed on demand videos as an optional method for flexibility and self paced learning. AIM self direction YouTube playlist includes how to videos with complete screen by screen instructions for each function in Evero. Teams can access these videos by emailing their AP specialist or visiting AIM's YouTube channel. Self direction team. For person specific supports, teams have designated AIM administrative representatives to provide wraparound support, such as the accounts payable specialist, self direction coordinator, staff supports coordinator, and circle of support team. This is a visual example of AIM's self direction website at aimservicesinc.org, where teams can access tools and resources 24/7. AIM's YouTube channel is also available 24/7 with self paced how to videos for external teams as another learning option for self direction. AIM encourages Circle of Support teams to be in routine communication with their self direction coordinator and accounts payable specialist. If you need assistance locating your team, please visit the self direction staff directory link where teams can locate their AIM administrative team. Thank you for joining this session. AIM, what is the reimbursement process? To assist AIM with improvements and offerings of future education and training opportunities, an optional survey will be available to attendees to participate in. Additionally, a follow up email including an overview of the information presented, as well as the education and training team contact at sdsupport@aimservicesinc.org will be sent to attendees. Thank you.